Jasmine Crockett was at the height of her political power until everything flipped overnight. A rumor exploded online accusing her of pocketing $2,600 from her late grandmother's estate. Within hours, the hashtag #HashFraudQueen flooded every platform. There was no proof yet. Nancy Mace, her most dangerous political rival, appeared on television with a knowing smile casually sowing doubt. In an instant, Crockett was cast as a corrupt thief before millions of viewers. The press swarmed, donors fled, and whispers of congressional hearings grew louder. All of it sparked by a single carefully fabricated lie. Now the nation is watching, waiting to see whether Crockett will fight back or be drowned beneath the rising tide of disinformation. Jasmine Crockett had never imagined that a career she built word by word in congressional hearing rooms could collapse with a single tap on a screen. She, the woman with the sleek high bun and razor-sharp gaze, was no stranger to media scrutiny. But growing up poor in Dallas had taught Jasmine one brutal lesson in Washington. Survival wasn't about luck, it was about reputation. That morning, steam was still curling from her mug of black coffee as she reviewed a criminal justice reform brief when her aide Olivia burst into the office, pale, her iPhone trembling in her hand. "You need to see this. Now." On the screen was a tweet from an anonymous account showing Jasmine smiling beside the memorial photo of her late grandmother. Below it, a blood-red caption screamed like a knife to her skull. "Breaking Jasmine Crockett embezzled $2,600 from grandmother's estate for personal use. #FraudQueen." Tens of thousands of likes, hundreds of thousands of comments. The rumor was mutating at terrifying speed. Jasmine's brow hardened. Who's behind this? Olivia said nothing. She didn't have to. They both knew in this rotten world of politics, every whisper had fingerprints, and no one had more motive than Nancy Mace, the hard-edged congresswoman with a military pedigree. Just a week earlier, the two had clashed spectacularly in the Oversight Committee when Jasmine grilled Nancy for voting against a bill protecting black voting rights. Nancy had smirked and called her politically naive. This wasn't a debate anymore. This was war by rumor. Jasmine's phone began to vibrate nonstop. CNN, Fox, NBC. She didn't have time to answer before Olivia whispered, "Nancy Mace is going on the morning report at 8. Jasmine checked the clock. 7:52. Turn on the TV. 8 minutes later, Nancy appeared on screen, hairpin straight smile, elegant eyes glinting with a near-perverse delight. "I'm not drawing any conclusions," she said, "but Congress deserves to investigate. Maybe $2,600 was a mistake, or maybe it's the sign of far deeper wrongdoing. Voters deserve the truth." Each precise bullet of her words pierced the trust Jasmine had spent years forging. #FraudQueen stormed Twitter's top trend. Campaign donors began sending stiff, re-evaluating collaboration emails. Reporters stopped asking if she embezzled and started asking when. Jasmine realized she wasn't facing a normal re-election fight. She was standing in a public execution pit fueled by clicks. She called Wayne Bennett a political crisis handler known for yanking senators back from scandal's edge. He picked up instantly. "I've seen it," he said. "We've got 48 hours before you're finished." "Can you prove it's fake?" Jasmine asked. "We don't need proof," Wayne snapped. "We just need the public to believe it's fake before they decide you're guilty." She lowered into her chair, memories flooding back of her grandmother, the woman who sold her crumbling home so Jasmine could attend law school. $2,600. That barely covered her first semester casebooks. Why would she sell her soul for pocket change? Her grip tightened around her phone as though she could crush the accusations inside. Her eyes watered, but behind the tears there was steel. "Draft a press statement immediately," she ordered. "I'm calling this what it is, malicious fabrication, and I'm demanding an investigation into whoever orchestrated it." Olivia nodded and sprinted out, only to crash into a Politico photographer. Flashbulbs detonated. Questions flew like shrapnel. "Did you steal the money? Will you resign? Are your donors abandoning you?" Jasmine drew a deep breath and stepped forward like a soldier into artillery fire. She answered firmly, unapologetically, I am innocent, and I will prove it. But deep down, she knew in the digital age, facts mattered less than feelings. The rumor wasn't even 2 hours old, yet it was already erasing 20 years of trust. By afternoon, Nancy struck again. A forged bank receipt surfaced on Facebook, showing Jasmine allegedly withdrawing $2,600 the day of the funeral. Now it looked real. Political allies went quiet. Party colleagues DM'd her to avoid public exposure. This wasn't a flare-up anymore. It was a coordinated strike. And somewhere behind Nancy's smug smile, someone far more powerful was pulling strings, watching Jasmine drown. Late that night, the office lights dimmed, but Jasmine stayed glued to her screen reading vicious tweets memes of her face spliced with corrupt dictators, hashtags calling for her head. Her hands trembled. Not from fear, from betrayal. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A low, gravelly male voice came through. If you want to know who set this up, stop believing what you see on TV. Nancy's just a pawn. The one pulling the wire is bigger than you can imagine. Jasmine bolted upright. Who are you? I was once foolish enough to think this system could change. Then I learned there are only two kinds of survivors in Washington, those who strike first, and those erased silently. He paused, voice turning icy. If you want to live, Crockett, hit back before they tighten the noose. Why help me? I'm not helping you, the man said. I just hate watching someone who still believes in justice get crushed by the very machine she fights. The line went dead. Jasmine froze, heart pounding. Someone in the shadows was warning her Nancy wasn't the real predator. Somewhere inside Capitol Hill, a darker force had decided her fate. And in that breath of terror and rage, Jasmine Crockett understood this wasn't about saving her reputation anymore. It was about survival. The rumor detonated like remote-triggered dynamite. Jasmine Crockett embezzles $2,600 every month from her dead grandmother's estate. The hashtag #HashFraudQueen ballooned out of control. An anonymous Twitter account dropped a so-called leaked financial report. Right-wing media chewed it up like it was classified intelligence. TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, every platform is flooded with spliced videos painting Jasmine as a moral monster hiding behind an angelic face. She had no idea she'd just stepped into the center of a meticulously engineered manipulation campaign, a digital coup. Nancy Mace picked the perfect moment to appear lips curled in a victor's smile. I'm not making any conclusions. I'm simply calling for clarity, she said sweetly, as though justice itself was her concern. With that single insinuation, Nancy turned Jasmine into the defendant in front of a bloodthirsty public. No court. No evidence. No one is waiting for investigations. Jasmine's campaign donations began to freeze. Silent emails, canceled pledges. Some donors sent vicious advice explaining yourself just makes you look guilty. Olivia's updates piled in hundreds of clone accounts, pumping fake news by the hour. Jasmine's photos twisted into humiliating memes, her collar stained gold with dirty money. Twitter pushed the rumor into trending. Facebook unleashed targeted ads into her district Crockett steals, from the dead time to end corruption. Wayne Bennett charged in like a battlefield general. This isn't organic. This is a military-style psyops campaign. He pointed to diffusion maps of the rumor. Its epicenter is a media firm called Strategic Influence LLC. The money flows from a massive political PAC. Mace isn't big enough to run this, Jasmine asked. No, but she's ambitious enough to be the puppet. A forged bank slip hit next, claiming she withdrew $2,600 on the day of the funeral. Far-right sites paraded it as irrefutable proof. Celebrity pundit Tucker Ames opened his primetime show, Thief or Professional Liar. The question wasn't if Jasmine was guilty, but when she'd be investigated. Truth was no longer the objective conviction was. Then came the hammer. The House Oversight Committee, where Nancy Mace sat, announced it was considering hearings. Meanwhile, texts from Jasmine's own party warned, stay off the air. Let this blow over. Don't drag the party down over a small scandal. She understood this savage town. When blood spilled, the wolves stepped back, so they wouldn't get stained. She was at the cliff's edge. Strike back or disappear. A rapid response team formed overnight, weighing on media. Megan, a data prodigy, is tracing the bots. Alan, a former FBI investigator, is digging into political networks. They tracked the first cluster of tweets to a rented server in Virginia, the same server used in a smear campaign during Nebraska's 2022 race. The signature on the server contract, Thomas Whitaker, chairman of the Oversight Committee. Blood rushed to Jasmine's head. If Whitaker was behind this, then it wasn't an opponent's swipe. It was a coordinated elimination. Which means this isn't about $2,600, Jasmine said. This is about my seat. Wayne nodded. He wants you gone before the primary heats up. He's not firing bullets, he's dropping a fake news bomb. Megan kept digging. A new account at Truth for America just posted a video claiming Jasmine took bribes from a Texas construction firm. Ends with hearings are the only answer. They bought $120,000 of ad placement. The buyer Liberty Fund 22, a shell owned by Strategic Influence LLC. Within 48 hours, the rumor became an indictment. Jasmine was branded a career crook, stealing from the dead, taking bribes, morally bankrupt. Her office line melted down under calls for her resignation. A fringe group of voters threatened to storm her office if she wasn't removed immediately. Olivia brought worse news. NBC's late-night show just booked Nancy Mace as the anti-corruption crusader. Jasmine knew if Nancy went on national TV unchallenged, the lie would cement itself. So she chose to counterstrike that very night. I go live at 7 p.m., she declared. Wayne prepped the briefing. Megan, give me hard data tying the bots to Strategic. Alan, find any direct link between Whitaker and Mace. Wayne hesitated. If you throw your cards too soon and don't hit, they'll crucify you on air. And if I stay silent, Jasmine answered coldly, I'll drown before I even swim. She crafted a sharp, fearless speech, accusing a dark money operation and a congressional faction of creating a fabricated scandal to destroy a political rival. Megan assembled the bot network map. Alan quietly left seeking an FBI source to confirm their data. 7:00 p.m. Jasmine stood before the camera's eyes unblinking. I will not only prove my innocence, I will expose the puppeteers undermining our democracy. Her message struck like a war drum. Hash Fraud Queen kept raging, but a backlash rose. Hash Stop Fake Bomb. Across town, Nancy Mace smiled a more dangerous smile. She just dug her grave. But at that very moment, Whitaker's phone lit up with a chilling message. She knows you're behind it. The fight was no longer about who would be hit by the fake news bomb. It was about who would pull the real political trigger first. 3 days after the fake news went viral, Jasmine Crockett was thrust into a death match with no time to breathe. The media swarmed her from her office door to the corridors of Congress. Every step she took was stalked by dozens of camera lenses. Every sentence she spoke was at risk of being edited into evidence against her. Politico declared it the most severe moral scandal involving a black lawmaker in a decade. Fox News asked, how long until Crockett faces criminal investigation? No one wanted to hear her explanation. They wanted to watch her collapse. Her biggest donor, the Patriot Support Fund, sent an official notice pulling its $2 million pledge before the primary. Smaller businesses that had once promised solidarity quietly erased their logos from her website. The campaign's funding stream began tightening rapidly. Meanwhile, the office mailbox overflowed with anonymous letters demanding her resignation. Thief vampire feeding on the dead. I won't let you humiliate my country any longer. Wayne Bennett spoke frankly. Public opinion is drowning you. If we don't strike back harder, you'll be strangled before the hearings even start. Jasmine retained her icy expression. Yet behind that mask, she understood Nancy Mace was orchestrating mass psychology like a conductor guiding a deadly symphony. Nancy continued to appear on television each time deploying a new provocation. If she's innocent, she should hand over all financial records. Why won't Crockett specifically answer whether she did or did not take her grandmother's money? We must harshly punish corruption, especially from those who claim to fight for justice. The questions were carefully packaged to create a sense that Jasmine was hiding something far worse. What began as a smear evolved into a legitimate campaign under the banner of transparency. Every time Jasmine declined to answer in detail, it was interpreted as proof that she was in hiding. The House Ethics Committee sent a priority letter demanding Jasmine hand over her full 5-year account history and all payments involving blood relatives. Procedurally routine, but once leaked to the press, it turned into a default public verdict that a real investigation has begun. Mace immediately appeared on Morning Joe smiling as she announced, "I trust the committee will be thorough. We cannot let one bad apple spoil the whole of Congress." In that single phrase, Jasmine was cast as the spoiled apple before millions. Wayne slammed his hand on the desk. "We're losing control of the narrative. Either you take back the story, or you get buried in theirs." Jasmine nodded. She had only one choice: left break public opinion on their own terms. Megan laid out a plan to release data, proving Oversight Chairman Whitaker had received $800,000 in dubious donations from Strategic Influence LLC. Allen prepared a shadow witness, a former Whitaker staffer, ready to claim he personally greenlighted the campaign to smear Jasmine. But Wayne warned, "If we go public and it doesn't detonate, they'll accuse you of fabrication and destroy whatever goodwill remains." Meanwhile, the public was splitting into two camps. The anti-Jasmine side posted images of her late grandmother captioned, "Unforgivable crime," while supporters raised a new but weaker #hash. Justice for Crockett immediately drowned out by bot accounts whenever it tried to trend. Politics had become an invisible courtroom. The jury was social media, the lawyers were pundits, the judge was outrage. People no longer asked whether she did it, but how long she had been doing it. Wayne repeated again and again, "You need proof they're framing you." Jasmine decided to gamble everything. She ordered Megan to live stream the map of fake accounts tied to Strategic Influence LLC, calling Whitaker by name and suggesting he was orchestrating a purge of rising black lawmakers within the party. In his committee office, Whitaker slammed a newspaper on the table and told his legal advisor to explore reverse lawsuits for defaming a sitting official. Nancy seized the moment Crockett is panicking. Innocent people don't invent conspiracy theories. She appeared on every primetime broadcast wearing a faux somber expression as if she merely wanted to protect institutional integrity. Jasmine had kicked a hornet's nest and now had just 24 hours to present hard evidence or be framed as someone who had invented lies to escape her own scandal. Wayne pushed Allen to reach back into his law enforcement network. Allen called in a favor at midnight. "I need anything linking Whitaker's PAC to the bots." Hours later, an anonymous email landed in Jasmine's encrypted inbox. The attachment, a $900,000 payment contract between American Liberty First and Strategic Influence LLC, signed by Whitaker's close aide, a smoking gun pointing straight at the committee chair. Jasmine stared at it like a one-way ticket to survival. But Wayne reminded her, one strike only. If you release this, the spotlight shifts onto Whitaker. But if there's a single flaw, they'll try to indict you for falsifying federal records. Jasmine hesitated for a heartbeat, then hardened. "Make them afraid," she said. "We won't drip feed this. We drop the entire contract and demand a Department of Justice probe into Whitaker." Wayne gave a sharp, wicked smile. "You're putting the hunter on trial if I can drag Whitaker into a hearing," Jasmine said, eyes blazing. Fraud Queen becomes #Whitakergate. Checkmate or the beginning of a bloodier game. Jasmine shook off exhaustion, sat down at her keyboard, and wrote a press release. "I now possess evidence of a vile conspiracy to manipulate public opinion and silence independent voices in Congress. I will no longer defend. I will strike." The verdict of public opinion still hovered over her head. But Jasmine knew if she could make the crowd doubt the person who lit the fire in the first place, the vice closing around her might just tighten around them instead. Jasmine Crockett stopped playing defense. She went on the offensive. Wayne Bennett established a truth war room right inside her congressional office, dividing the entire team into 3 units: media, investigation, and legal. The sole order exposed the origins of the fake news and turned Hash Fraud Queen into a historic example of how public opinion can be bent. Megan began by tracing the hashtag backwards. Within just 12 hours, she proved the real starting point of the rumor was a satirical meme page called The Patriot's Joke, known for posting hoaxes like Joe Biden is an alien for clicks. The page had been labeled parody content by the fact-checking group Snopes, but when a far-right account upgraded the joke into supposed evidence, the share stream spun out of control. Snopes issued its official verdict, no credible source, completely fabricated. At the same time, PolitiFact stamped it pants on fire, the highest falsehood rating they give. Lead stories reviewed every legal record. There was no lawsuit, no inquiry, no financial document connected to Jasmine whatsoever. The words Fraud Queen now consistently appeared alongside completely fake, which Jasmine's team immediately weaponized in their media push. Wayne drove a frontal counterattack on the far-right media outlets that had amplified the lie. Jasmine sent legal letters to sites spreading the story, warning of lawsuits, unless they removed it and posted retractions. Some resisted, but once Politico and the Washington Post simultaneously ran headlines like meme origin turned into scandal, the atmosphere began to reverse. Major networks like CNN shifted language from corruption allegation to public opinion manipulation campaign. Jasmine personally met with editors from the New York Times to USA Today. She produced every shred of evidence bank statements, her grandmother's asset records. Each meeting became a mini hearing. They don't just want to kill me, she said. They want to kill the truth. Her tone wasn't pleading. It struck at the media's deepest fear being used as a pawn in a fake news operation. Nancy Mace kept pouring gasoline on the fire. On NBC, she declared, "Until there's an official investigation, I believe Crockett is hiding something." Jasmine didn't return fire with words anymore. She answered with data. Megan released a chart showing an alarming overlap between accounts spreading fake news and the bot network of the PAC American Liberty First. Lead stories confirmed that over 70% of Hash Fraud Queen shares came from unusually low engagement accounts. Wayne blasted that package of evidence to both the DOJ and the press in a single strike, while Nancy was on camera saying, "Investigate Crockett." A wave of new headlines erupted. Did Whitaker and Mace fabricate fake news to take out a rival far-right PC suspected of funding anti-Crockett fake news campaign? Hash Fraud Queen. A manipulation operation? Momentum flipped. Donors who had fled began emailing to reopen conversations. Some companies quietly sent apologies. Voters who once hurled insults now hesitated. Had they been tricked? Jasmine didn't leave them wondering. She appeared on national TV, stared straight into the camera. "I will not only prove my own innocence, I will make laws to ensure anyone who manipulates fake news faces prison." That line detonated like explosives. Legal counterstrike. Major newspapers echoed Crockett strikes back. Truth may be the strongest weapon. The opposition staggered. Nancy stopped using the word corruption, shifting to ethical concern. Whitaker started dodging cameras. A leak revealed he had asked his private lawyer about potential PASI misuse allegations. Wayne made a quick call. "We've gone from holding the line to the hunt." Jasmine still didn't smile. "I'll only smile when they're held accountable," she said. The 200-page dossier Allen had built was sent to the Department of Justice demanding an investigation into American Liberty First and Whitaker. That same day, Jasmine filed a new legislative proposal to criminally charge organizations that intentionally spread fake news to interfere in elections. Immediately, Hash Fraud Queen was overwhelmed by a new hashtag #weaponized truth use truth as a weapon. The tide turned so fast that Mace canceled 3 interviews. Reporters began asking her the hard questions. Did your office contribute to spreading fake news? Nancy paused, then offered only, "I support a full investigation, even of myself." In a single week, Jasmine transformed from target to hunter. She didn't just want to survive, she wanted to prove that truth, if organized and wielded as a weapon, could cut through every cloud of deceit modern politics could muster. Staring at the thick investigation report, Jasmine knew this fight wasn't over, but for the first time since the false accusations began, she felt her hands on the wheel. The hearing became a national media spectacle. The halls of Congress were transformed into a live movie set. Cameras, microphones, reporters packed shoulder to shoulder. The hashtag #TrialOfTruth shot to #1 on Twitter long before Crockett even stepped into the chamber. No one remembered that this had once been a likely corruption case. Now the world just wanted to know who would pay the price. Jasmine didn't flinch under the lights. She stepped to the podium, not like a defendant, but like a prosecutor. Rather than defend herself, she went on the offensive. "I am not here to protect my reputation. I am here to protect the truth," she said, signaling her aide to activate the giant screen. Slide 1, the original meme posted by the Patriots joke. Slide 2, a Snopes verdict completely fabricated. Slide 3, PolitiFact pants on fire. Slide 4, official bank records, confirming no such $2,600 transaction had ever occurred. One by one, each data point landed like a hammer blow against the lie that had almost drowned her. Then Jasmine executed the pivot from defense to structural assault. The next slide revealed the $900,000 contract between the PAC American Liberty First and Strategic Influence LLC, the firm responsible for 75% of the hashtag #HashFraudQueens amplification. Silence swept the room. Jasmine pointed to the aide's signature beneath Thomas Whitaker's name, then zoomed in on a chilling notation: Phase 1 public opinion operation, destroy Crockett. This was never a spontaneous rumor, Jasmine said in a voice of steel. This was a political weapon engineered to kill the career of a congresswoman fighting for justice. And those responsible sit inside this very committee. A gasp rolled through the chamber. Members of Congress who had stayed neutral began eyeing one another uneasily. Whitaker, seated in the chairman's slot, went pale and sat frozen. Television cameras panned to Nancy Mace just as a video clip from Morning Report appeared on screen, showing her smiling while stoking corruption concerns. That was followed by a lead stories fact check, proving she'd quoted from an unverified source driven by bots. Jasmine never said the words "you are guilty." She didn't need to. Public opinion was now connecting the dots for itself. When she concluded, there was a full heartbeat of stunned silence, and then the room exploded in applause. Reporters, lawmakers, and viewers watching live all witnessed the chessboard flip in under 50 minutes. Nancy Mace, for the first time, refused to answer media questions. Her smile twitched. Whitaker slipped out a back door. Twitter accounts that had once spearheaded #FraudQueen were now being mass reported for disinformation. That afternoon, the Washington Post headline blared, "Political attack or assault on democracy." The committee recessed with a temporary finding, no evidence of wrongdoing by Representative Crockett. But Jasmine didn't walk out triumphant. Instead, she went directly to the press pen. "I do not accept merely being found not guilty. I demand a criminal investigation into those behind this fake news campaign and anyone who tries to silence independent voices in Congress in the future. This is not the end. This is the beginning." Donors returned. Campaign allies sent renewed commitments. Public sentiment flipped with stunning speed. #FraudQueen vanished. In its place, #Crockett Strong. Wayne stood beside her, nodding. "You just took back the story?" Jasmine's eyes weren't shining with victory, but with fury. "I haven't forgotten what it felt like to be branded a criminal while the puppeteers walked free. This public trial is over. The next battle, I want to see the people behind it in a real courtroom." She turned and strode away, not toward the exit, but straight toward the Department of Justice. A new chapter was opening, where truth wouldn't just be a shield. It would become the blade that finally punishes those who pulled the strings of a very dirty game. The reverse wave after the hearing was more ferocious than any political counterstrike in American history. Nancy Mace collapsed from within her own ranks. Allies who once applauded her boldness now claimed they had no idea what was going on. Some members of her party discreetly asked her to temporarily step away from the media. The hashtag #MaceStepDown spread widely. Outlets that had spread fake news quietly removed articles and issued reluctant corrections. Many bot accounts were locked by Twitter. A prime example was Freedom Watcher, 77, one of the earliest accounts promoting the hashtag #HashFraudQueen, whose IP investigation revealed it originated from a rented data provider under the name Strategic Influence LLC. The House Ethics Committee released a statement concluding that Jasmine Crockett was completely innocent while recommending a review of the organized political spread of fake news. With that razor-sharp line, Nancy Mace wasn't just defeated. She was branded as someone who helped crush the truth. Whitaker, who had been evading attention, was forced to announce he would cooperate should there be an investigation into the role of the American Liberty First PAC. His donors immediately froze contributions. Worried phone calls flooded in behind the scenes. We should distance ourselves from him before it's too late. As her opponents weathered the storm, Jasmine Crockett did not celebrate. She turned victory into the foundation for what she believed was a greater mission. At her post-acquittal press conference, she did not talk about injustice or personal glory. She announced a new campaign called the Truth Act, a media reform proposal aimed to unrequire platforms to verify sources before spreading political information. To criminally prosecute organizations behind fake news campaigns. 3. Protect citizens' reputations from organized public opinion violence. Jasmine's message was striking. If I don't stand up, someone else will be choked to death by our silence. Newspapers that once doubted her now ran new headlines. From fake news victim to reform icon. Crockett turns pain into a national campaign. The public exhausted by information, chaos responded passionately. Law schools, civil organizations, and research institutes began inviting Jasmine to speak. She appeared as a new representative of the fight against information manipulation. Talk shows that once asked, "Is she corrupt?" were now headlined. Can she change American politics? Nancy Mace was pushed off television, forced to publicly apologize if the spread of incorrect information caused misunderstanding. But the apology couldn't rescue a career already fractured. In a closed-door party meeting, a senior member bluntly said, "You embarrassed us in front of the entire country." Meanwhile, the PAC that stood behind the #FraudQueen campaign faced an initial Department of Justice investigation into small-scale election interference. In the House, colleagues from both parties came to shake Jasmine's hand. No one called her a survivor anymore, they called her a spearhead. Opinion pieces appeared in the press. Crockett could become a reform star, even a future party leader. Jasmine did not stop. She declared directly to her supporters, "I will push this bill all the way. I will not stop until fake news and those who hide in the shadows using it as a weapon face real consequences." Chants of truth. Truth, truth rang out like the slogan of a new campaign. The public opinion trial closed, leaving a clear verdict: those who exploit lies to destroy others are finally forced to bow their heads. Jasmine Crockett didn't just survive the storm, she emerged as the one paving the road toward a national overhaul of the information system. And in Washington, a new question began to be whispered: was the #FraudQueen scandal only the first step for Jasmine Crockett to rise onto an even bigger arena, where she would not only confront Nancy Mace, but the very power structure that had nurtured fake news for years?